think something that helped me was because I was young and because I was ambitious and because I hadn't failed at that time, I just expected us to win. And I think that drive came through. The rising tide, it raises all ships. So those people who are up there, they're so busy shooting down at people that all they're doing is blowing holes in the bottom of their ship. So when the tide does come in, we're going to go a lot higher than them, and everybody around you goes up. Hindsight is a beautiful thing. And I look back now and I go, what? Russell, what the hell were you doing? Why didn't you get out there or there or there or there? Like that whole period of your life, you were sat on a motorway and you were given exit after exit after exit. You deliberately chose to sit in the fast lane and keep going.
Welcome to The Secret Resume. I'm Melody Moore, leadership consultant, coach, and endlessly curious human. For over 20 years, I've been helping leaders unlock potential in themselves, their teams, and their organisations. Before we dive in, do you want to know how entrepreneurial your leadership really is? Why not try my entrepreneurial leadership diagnostic? It takes just 10 minutes and gives you instant insights to grow your impact. You'll find the link in the show notes. My guest today is Russell Phillips. Russell, really glad to have you here. You and I only met very recently at Ideas Fest. We had a great conversation in the rain.
It was really
we were safe and cozy in my gazebo, but it was pretty wild. And I asked you at the time, would you be interested in coming on the podcast? Because I thought you were very interesting and what you've done and are doing is really interesting. So why don't you introduce yourself?
Like you just said, thank you so much for having me on. Your blow up sofa was the winner there, wasn't it?
Star of the show.
Oh, what a hero. Until I had to get off of it. That was But yeah, so my name's Russell. I am the co-owner of Sonar Presents. We are a music discovery platform, and hopefully we'll talk a little bit more about that later. In the past, I have been a primary school teacher, and I've run several businesses, or at least part run with other people, several businesses, including a sports coaching company. And I've been a sports coach myself, self-employed since I was 16. And I also ran a bar tour down in Newquay, which I don't talk about all that often. But
a bar tour?
A bar tour, yes, in across Newquay. So yeah, I've had a few businesses, worked with several teams and done several jobs, but definitely a little bit of an entrepreneur. And yeah, above all else, I love growing things. So I'm excited.
And that's why I wanted to speak to you. So this series is coaches and therapists. And so what I thought was really interesting is you have been a coach and, you've been a sports coach. And I think that's really interesting. How does that relate to business coaching? But also, I think I'm really interested in your entrepreneurial side as well and sort of some of the highs and lows. It's something I'm really interested and passionate about is entrepreneurship, entrepreneurialism. I think
we'll
those
go with
both
that.
words.
Yeah, we'll go with those.
Yeah, they sound right, even if they're not. So yeah, that's why I thought you'd make a really interesting guest because I think it's a really interesting combination of the two. So let's dive in. We're going to go, as we do with everybody, pretty much right back to the beginning. The first, thing that you're going to talk about is your family, your mum and your dad. So, and the influence they had on you. So why don't you start there?
Yeah, I mean, predominantly my mum was the sort of leader of the family. And I know that this whole series is about, like you said, coaching and leadership. And she was very much the head of the family. We were what you would consider quite traditional in terms of family. So dad went to work, mum was there to take us to school, pick us up, bring us back. And yes, so she taught us to have some great self-confidence, to be who we are. And yeah, they were both super supportive in where we were going and what we were doing. It wasn't until I was, an adult and looked back now that I sort of realized that actually we weren't very well off. And quite often, both my mum and my dad went without for us. So I've got a brother as well. And the two of us, yeah, we didn't want for anything, but we didn't necessarily have the newest clothes, or when we went on holiday, we went to Cornwall as opposed to going to, Ibiza or Disneyland. But what we did get to do was those everyday activities. So I got to play tennis, and I played tennis from the age of 3, and I still play tennis now and I love it. And I'm a tennis coach, and it means a lot to me, that sport. When I wanted to play football, I was allowed to, and they made the way to happen. When I wanted to play hockey, they managed to make that happen. And again, I became a hockey coach and have had a lot of success, and that's guided me through a lot. So they made sure that I and my brother, who did taekwondo all the way through to black belt, and then he started coaching and leading it as well. And actually, in different ways, we're both teachers now. So it was really important to have that, to be able to go and experience all of these things, and then be able to kind of put all of those pieces together to become, me. I mean, I was, as most people do, that sort of 18 to 20-year-old Russell wasn't the greatest human being in the world. I mean, all good intentions, but was probably the best term was cocky. And yeah, bit big from the boots, all of that sort of thing. But I'll always look back on this, and I just know that, at the end of the day, the morals were always there. I knew that if I do good and I look after the people around me, that will happen. They'll look after me. And, at the end of the day, we're all one team. And that's really, really important. And that's something that I will always hold. And however, whether I'm running a business or whether we're having a conversation one-on-one, that's something that I learned from a very early age, is that we're all in this together and we're all on the same team. And I've worked with a lot of people. I've had a lot of bosses, and I'm sure we all have, who definitely come across the complete opposite way. Let's be honest. They will stand on people to get higher. They are more than happy to throw you under the bus. And sometimes it's tough to sort of feel at the bottom. Even if you're not, it's tough to feel at the bottom sometimes and look up at them and go, hang on a minute, you're horrible. And you don't look after the people around you. And we're still supporting you. And there's no reason for this other than you've got more money, you've got more power. But I always go back to that sort of family first kind of idealism. And I always just think, the rising tide, it raises all ships. So those people who are up there, they're so busy shooting down at people that all they're doing is blowing holes in the bottom of their ship. So when the tide does come in, we're going to go a lot higher than them, and everybody around you goes up. So yeah, that's something that I learned from my mum and my dad. It's just having those morals and the fact that we are all in this together at all times. And I've taken that through to my leadership. I've taken that through to my sports coaching. I took that through to my business owning. Sometimes with interesting effects, but yeah, generally, it's put me in good stead, and I wouldn't change it.
And I'm interested. You said that your mum really instilled self-confidence in you. How did she do that? What do you think she did?
Yeah, my mum has always been a strong person, a strong character. I remember growing up, it was never feisty. It was never going to be, she never instilled any kind of violence or aggression or anything like that at all. But there was very much I don't know, I guess like I'm going to say like an air of authority, as in to just respect her and her position, and my dad and my grandparents, and therefore sort of teachers. And I'm going to say respect your elders, but it's not quite that. It's respect people who deserve respect. If they're trying to help you, if they're trying to talk to you, then show them the respect. And you, even as a child, you deserve respect as well. That's something that I've taken in. I was a teacher for primary schools for 10 years. And one thing that kids over and over again used to say to me was, we like you because you don't treat us like children. And of course I do. Of course I did. I made sure that they were safe, made sure I looked after them. And at the end of the day, I was in control of the class because I was a teacher. But to make them feel like that was really important. And I remember my mum, doing that for us. And that coupled with the fact that, like I said before, we got to experience things, and we were never forced to do anything. I remember, I have no idea how old I was. I must have been 5, maybe 6, and I must have been interested in learning music. I wasn't sure. I don't remember it all, but I remember going to a piano lesson, and I did it, and I learned it, and I practiced it. Came back out and said, "How was it?" And I was like, "Honestly, I didn't like it." She went, "That's fine, but you've tried it and you've given it a go." And that was, that was always it. Well, I had the power to say, "No, I really didn't like that, mum. No, thank you." And I was listened to, which is really important. But the fact that I went and did it, and the fact that I went and tried it, and the fact that I was given that opportunity, or even if I was pushed into that opportunity, I still feel thankful for it, because now I know. Back then, I had the opportunity to learn piano rather than, oh, I wish I had. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So, and that's, yeah, I feel like that was really useful for me to be a bit more well-rounded.
And I'm also interested in the fact that both you and your brother, when you did your sports, then ended up coaching others. And I wonder if there was something about the way that you were brought up that led to that. Do you think?
I mean, yeah, possibly. I don't think it's a coincidence that the two of us did go into the careers that we've gone into. I mean, my brother's one of the points a bit later down, but he is now an outdoor instructor and an adventurer. So he teaches kayaking and stand-up paddleboarding and stuff around the globe, really. But even back then, as teenagers, I went into hockey coaching from the age of 16. My brother became an assistant to the taekwondo instructor from an early age. So even though I lent more into team sports and he lent more into sort of individual sports, there was definitely this, I don't know, this ability to communicate quite clearly and to be able to sort of, I'm going to say command respect, but that sounds like we ruled with iron fists, and that's not what I mean at all. But there must have been some kind of air of authority around us or near us. And people say that now. People say that to me now. They go, "Well, we just know that we need to listen to you." And however lovely that is and really useful in a lot of circumstances that is, I don't know what it was that created that, other than I know my mum had it. I know I know it was
Mm.
there. So I don't know. I'm not 100% sure what it was, but it must have been a combination of lots of things.
I wonder if there's part of it is the fact that you were used to being listened to because your parents listened to you, and therefore you were comfortable stating your opinion. Perhaps that's maybe where I just think of that respect goes both ways, doesn't it? If you're respecting others, but you're used to receiving respect, then maybe you just grew up thinking you had something to give or to
Yeah,
share.
possibly. Yeah, it was always, a lot of the stuff I said was probably rubbish. But especially back then. Oh, probably now even as well, to be honest. But yeah, it was, yeah, we always did feel listened to. And that was both mum, dad, grandparents. We always felt listened to. And not, yeah, that was always really important. That I think that was the biggest thing that we got, we were listened to, we were respected. Then we were told we were wrong. Don't we, we weren't then given the pony and the car and everything. We didn't get it, but we were listened to. And that was really important, I think.
Lovely. Love that. Let's talk then about hockey and your hockey coaching. I used to play hockey at school. I used to love it. So I was very excited to hear that you were a hockey coach. You said you from 16 onwards you were coaching.
Yes, yes. So a couple of days after my 16th birthday, I was invited onto the level 1 England hockey coaching course it was just before my 19th birthday, I think it was. It might have been just after, but somewhere there, where I became a level 2 hockey coach. At that age, I'd already been a captain of one of our men's teams, which was an interesting one. And that was something I learned a lot of, because I started playing adult hockey at 14, which is pretty standard for on the men's side anyway at the time. And by 17, I was captain of a hockey tour that we did down in South Devon. Just a small one, but I was captain. It was really weird because I was the captain. I was too young to drink. Um, so, which on a tour, if anybody has ever been on a sporting tour, generally that's quite a large proportion of the tour. So I think that confused a lot of people when the captain himself had to actually sit outside the pub and wasn't allowed in. So yeah, but and then at the end of that year, so I was end of 17, and as I was 18, I became captain of one of our men's teams. And yeah, like I said, that was a real eye opener because it was how you communicate to people, but also that was the first time coaching and generally talking that I was talking up to people. I was talking to people that had been there for years, people who were better than me on the pitch, people who, I mean, in life were better than me at that point. I'm talking to, doctors and dentists and people generally who have got real careers, and they turned up in their Aston Martins and rolled out and went, "Hi, I'm here to play hockey." And you've got this 17-year-old, cocky lad going, "Cool, and I'm your captain. Hi, nice to meet you." I'll always remember the first time I had to drop a player because they just weren't turning up to training, and we had better players. And the weird feeling that was going, "Excuse me, sir, but I need to drop you from the team this week because you're not playing at the level that we need you to play at." But we won a trophy, and we were actually 1 point off promotion that year, which was arguably disappointing. But I look back now, and I was so proud of it. And the year after that, I completed my level 2 hockey coaching training, and I started coaching at at the local rival club, which at the time, in fairness, were many, many leagues below, and it was on our ladies' side. And that was different again because I had to talk to a whole host of women, and that was a new experience for me. So I had sort of taught children and my peers in terms of age, and then I'd had to be sort of the big, broad-shouldered captain, talking to people who are much bigger and much older and much better at hockey than me, to going now to ladies where it's a lot more about interpersonal skills, where it was a lot more about the sport was a little different in the way they played. The tactics were different. The fitness was different. And I loved it. I absolutely fell in love with it. But my God, did that take a couple of months to get used to how to coach, not only how to coach a whole club, which was my first time doing that as a head coach of a whole club, but how to differentiate between, the young juniors coming through and the old heads, and how we can sort of amalgamate them all together. But yeah, also we wanted to win. Like they brought me in because they were struggling as a club, and we wanted to win things. So we did. We had to tear it all apart and build the foundations up. And I think something that helped me was because I was young, because I was ambitious, and because I hadn't failed at that time, I just expected us to win. And I think that drive came through, and we did. We did win. We won a lot. We won, I think it was 4 promotions in 5 years or something like that. Yeah, something like that. It was wild. We just kept winning. Our first team overtook the rival team, but we didn't lose a game against them. And ridiculously, I did this all while still playing with my old club, who was local. I was club man of the year that year for taking on extra responsibilities for that club, whilst being the head coach of this new club. And then the year after that, I took on another hockey club as well. It was ridiculous, really. Now I look back.
I'm curious of a couple of things. One is, why do you think they chose the 17-year-old to be the captain of the team? In the, sort of going back to that, when you just became that captain, what was it about you, do you think, that made them think, yes, he can captain these people who are older and more experienced and what have you?
The honest answer is I'm not sure. And I look back now and there are a few people who actually I fell out with in the end. Nothing to do with that hockey club necessarily. It linked that the fallout links to something I'll explain in a minute. I had people who respected me and had people who thought that I could be successful in this coaching side of things. And I don't know whether that was something that they saw in me and thought they would take it. I don't know if just nobody else wanted it. I know that I did not put my name forward for it. I know that my name was put forward for me because I was actually playing in the team below. So I was actually level wise, I was playing in the team below at that time. So I actually came up a league, which was always the intention because it was the level that I needed to play at. But I was actually going to come up a league and then became the coach, which was a very weird situation for a young lad to be in.
How did you feel?
Proud and terrified in an exactly 50-50 split, I think. I knew I was frustrated that I hadn't been given a go at that level the year before. I knew that I was good enough to play that level of hockey. I knew that that was a step in my development, and I knew that as a player, I deserved to be there. And I would die on that hill. I was good enough to play at that league, and I proved it in the end. So there was frustration there that I hadn't been moved up. But no, yeah, at no point did I ever think I'd be a captain there. And honestly, people just got round me very quickly. I made sure that I had a very experienced couple of vice captains around me. I even let them take the first couple of team talks so that I could understand how they wanted me to say it. So it was a very strange experience. All I can do is thank those people that got around me at the time and thank that team. That team really did believe in me and I grew with them. You know, we struggled, we stuttered at the start. And I can only put that down to me. I can only put that down to me and my sort of lack of leadership at that point. We stuttered. I wasn't quite sure what formations these people wanted to play in and how we wanted to look. I knew what I wanted, but I didn't know how it fitted them. And I actually, in the end, I brought in some younger players from the other team, which helped me because there was an automatic respect there because I brought them up. And they fought for me and I really appreciated that. But I think it came from, again, what we said right at the beginning, that we were in it together. I was fighting with them. I was playing in positions I didn't want to play in because I wanted to make sure that they felt happy and comfortable. And yeah, I think that they appreciated that and they fought for me and with me. And we got through it. We got through it together.
Have you taken learning from that experience? Like, have you had similar experiences, but in a business context, for instance?
Yes, yes and no. So I remember the first time, I've been working since I was 11, I think. I had a paper round and then I started working at a local theme park as a teenager. I worked in some pubs. A lot of it, I'll be honest with you, a lot of it, I think people just go, oh, he's fine. I pick things up quite quickly. That doesn't mean I'm great. It doesn't mean I know what I'm doing a lot of the time, but I guess I give this air of, oh, he seems to know what he's doing.
You're good at faking it. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, but not intentionally by any means. People just go, oh yeah, you're all right with that, aren't you? And then they just bugger off and leave me. So then I have to work it out on the fly. My first job as an adult was in a stainless steel exhaust manufacturing company. I was there about 10 months, maybe a year, and I worked my way up beautifully. So I applied for a van driving job because I had nowhere else to go. I decided that I wasn't going to go to uni at that point and then didn't really have anything to go to. So I was just applying for jobs left, right, and centre. And when this one came back and said, we'd love an interview with you, I turned up and the first thing the chap said was, what the hell are you doing? Why would I ever employ you for this job? If I was I'm looking for a van driver and you don't tick any of the boxes. My gut response, which I said verbally, was, well, then why the hell have you brought me in here? Because it was a 15-minute drive, which isn't a lot, but at that age or that time, why are you wasting my time? And he genuinely said, I don't know what to do with you, but I don't want anybody locally to have you. Come in on come in on Monday and we'll work something out. And within 2 months, I had covered every position in that place, from working the phones and being in the office, to writing invoices, to taking orders, to being in the factory. I learned every bit of it. From, you want me to weld, you even now, if you want me to weld up a stainless steel exhaust, I've got you. I am your man. And then I slowly went into the distribution side of things, which sounds fancy. It's not. I was putting stuff in boxes and sending it out. But then I started to do the ordering system for that, which was a bit different. Then the previous manager of that area left, and I just sort of started covering it. And the boss went, you know what, you're covering it so well, just do it, just take that job. So I became, that sort of distributions manager. But I knew that it was only ever going to be part-time. It's not something that I ever wanted to do, but it was a great way of just being thrown into it and somebody backing backing me and going, I don't know what to do with you, and I'm not sure you're the right person yet, but I'm willing to gamble on you. And that reverts back to your question. So sorry, there was a bit of a waffle in there, but it does revert back to your question.
Yeah, and I think there seems to be a theme of people taking a gamble on you. Already. We've heard that several times, and we've only got to you being 18.
I might have been 20 at that point, but yeah, still, but yeah.
That makes all the difference.
Yeah. So
yeah, no, amazing. Let's go back to the coaching. I'm curious what you think makes a good. I'm very interested in the fact that it was team coaching. Yeah. For a start, because that's different to individual coaching. So I'm interested in what you think makes a really good sports team coach.
Well, I think actually team coaching is very different. And I personally find it easier than one-on-one coaching. I've coached tennis for a number of years. And it's really tough. It's a long 45 minutes to an hour on a tennis court when you're trying to work with somebody on a specific skill. And I think when you're team coaching, particularly hockey, but rugby, football, I've done a lot of sports with a lot of different age ranges. And team sports are a bit easier because yes, you still work with those people individually. Yes, you still pull people one-to-one and have the conversations with them, but everything then goes back to, how do we improve together? How do we improve as a team? And I find that a lot easier because I'm very good at pointing out that we're all in this together, and that if I'm not doing my job well, you're going to struggle. But if you're not doing your job well, you're making my life difficult as well. And I think it's about just showing that you're on the same team as them, that you're all on an even playing field. And for me, that's the most important thing. And that's the most important element. Then you can talk about tactics. Then you can talk about skills. Then you can talk about abilities as individuals and as a team. You can hold one person accountable, or you can hold a group of people accountable. But at the end of the day, something that I used to say pretty much on a daily basis while I was teaching in schools and whilst I've been on the side of pitches or courts or whatever, it's we win as a team and we lose as a team. So if we all put this together and we all have a good game, we give the rest of our team the perfect opportunity to succeed. But it only takes one person to, if I score an own goal, we're all losing 1-0. We're all down a goal. Even if you haven't touched the ball yet, if I'm not doing my job properly, I'm not helping you, or I'm deliberately doing something against you, yes, okay, it's all me, it's all my fault, I'm the reason, but you're still a goal down. You're still losing. And I think if you can get that over to, but if I score, we're winning, we are winning. If I score, we are winning. If you score, I get to win. And that for me was my biggest kind of point as I put across. And I think that's really important. And if you can get people behind you with that, and you get a whole team behind you, or a whole club, or everybody behind you, then there's no stopping you. You will continue going forward. All it takes is one person to keep kicking own goals, and things will fall apart.
Mm. It really makes me think about business teams, and especially senior level business teams, where often I think they're not necessarily playing for the same side, or they're not
Absolutely.
behaving as though they're playing for the same side, because they're behaving as though they're just their part of the business is the most important part and not
And
the
that,
success of the business as a whole.
yeah. And I've got a lot less experience in that side of things in terms of the corporate structures. A lot of the jobs and a lot of the businesses I've done are smaller. But I've been in some schools where certain teachers have had certain agendas and other teachers have got a different agenda. And even in a school setting, it can break apart. In a sports coaching, in a sports setting, as a player and as a coach, it is so obvious when one or two people are going the wrong direction. And you see that all the way through. You see that professionally in Premier League football in particular, but you see that in so many sports and so many activities, politics, even, everybody. It's a shame. It's a shame, because if we did all pull the same way and every organization pulled the same way, and there wasn't that person deliberately kicking the ball into their own goal and making everyone lose, yeah, you'd see a lot more success. But
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. For sure. So just to close off the hockey coaching discussion, what happened? Why did you stop coaching that team?
Yeah, so we got to the point where they were a ladies' club, and the men's club, or the club that I was playing for was everybody. They had juniors, men's, and ladies, and the club that I had moved to and was coaching was just a ladies' club and a small junior section. Well, whilst I was there, I was there initially 3 years, and those 3 years, the junior section had practically tripled because we just put in some really good foundations, and people wanted to come, and they had a great catchment area. It really helped. So then I decided that maybe we should put in a men's team, because by that point, the club that I was playing for, the club that I'd grown up with, they were starting to lose members to other clubs, and there was a few sort of political bits, people scoring own goals. um, so I thought at this point I was offered money through Active England to go and set up a men's club, and we did. So within 2 years, we had set up a men's club and we started running it, and that it's still going strong today. But there were a few, honestly, there were a few too many people in the organization who were out for themselves, and I am not. At the time, I was bitter. At the time, I was hurt at the fact that it was my name on it. It was my club. It was my reputation. I'd done everything to make sure that it worked, and I'd given up a lot. And two or three people had come in and spread rumors, had basically tried to seize power over it. And I stepped away before I got kicked out, but effectively. If I look back at it now, it's probably a blessing in disguise, because I managed to go back to my old club after a bit of awkwardness. They welcomed me back with open arms, and it is lovely to see another hockey club in that area. But yeah, for a while did I want them to succeed? No, I'll be honest with you. I wanted them to struggle. I wanted them to suffer and drown. Now I look back and I go, yeah, I'm still really proud of the creating of that club. But that was the reason why those people at my first club, those people that had backed me when I was 17, is a big reason why a lot of them didn't they were less keen to welcome me back. They were less happy with the fact they thought it was a bit of a betrayal that I'd gone and created another team, even though it was, 4 or 5 years later down the line, they were a bit hurt on that. I fully appreciate that now. I've cleared it up with most of them, the ones that are still around and the ones that are still playing. But yeah, it was a tough experience that, and it was a real learning curve to see actually, even if you think you're doing the right thing, and even if you think you're doing something that's actually really good for the community, and we won, like we were winning, we were doing well, and it was a real, for me, that was the first time where I was at the top, or we were at the top, and somebody had still sort of taken us down. Somebody was still scoring own goals. Somebody was still deliberately trying to pull the rug out from under my feet. And I didn't understand it at the time. Now I very much do. And it's fine. I'm very happy with who I am and what I am. But yeah, at the time, man, was that annoying.
I can imagine. I can't imagine because it's never happened to me, but I can imagine that would be a very difficult time.
Yeah.
Let's move on. And I don't know if this is related to what you just talked about, but you said you had a period where you were at rock bottom. And do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, I've put rock bottom in terms of me, and I know that rock bottom will mean something different to everybody.
Mm.
I never had drink issues or drug issues or anything like that, where a lot of people will say, well, my God, your rock bottom is fine compared to others. And I fully appreciate that. So when I call it rock bottom, I don't want to talk down, anybody or make it dramatized. But to me, it was a huge step. I had my sports coaching company where we were working in schools, and one bad deal that had happened outside of my control. So I was running a franchise, and the franchise owner had basically told me that we were going to get this big new contract in, and that because it was in my county, my area, that it would be me, and that I needed to go get coaches and I needed to go get sorted, and we were going to make money from this, and it was great. And when it didn't happen, I'd already spent all this money.
Mm.
With hindsight, it was a silly business move by me, but I was still reasonably young. I was 26, 25, 26, somewhere there, and quite naive. I trusted him. We'd worked together really well before, so I thought it was, we were going to succeed. When it didn't happen, what I should have done was cut my losses, and hindsight is 2020. What I should have done was cut my losses. I'd made profit from the company. The company was doing well, and what I should have done was sold it there and then. But I was stubborn, and I had been winning. I was well, at the time I was sort of 23, and I had the house, the car, the career, the girl. I had it all. And so when this came around at sort of 25, 26, I was like, well, it's fine. I got this. I'm always winning. It's not a big deal. I can do this. And then I had to get a cheaper car. That's fine. It's okay. I can do this. Not a problem. Then I started to struggle to make the house payments. Well, that's all right. It's not a problem. It's fine. I've got like friends I can I can stay with. That's not a big deal. It's okay. So that went. And then you kind of get into a place where you're too deep. You've invested everything you had still trying to build this thing. And in fairness, although I got it up there, I basically managed to clear off my debt. So when I sold the company, I effectively cleared the debt. So at that point, I've lost my car, I've lost my house, I've lost my partner through that and a few different things. Neither of us were that shallow, but
You've got no money. I'm not going to be with you.
Yeah. No, it absolutely wasn't that. But there, but that had broken up as well. I was sleeping in a van on a friend's driveway, and not really sure what to do and where to go. And career-wise, I knew that I didn't want to go. I knew that I wasn't going to be a professional sportsman at that age. I knew that sports coaching-wise, it was really tricky. It was going to be a really tough gig. And I wasn't sure I wanted to do that anymore. I'd been burnt by the creation of the hockey club, and that sort of, from my personal terms, falling out. And I struggled. I really struggled. I went and did some building for a bit, and I'm really thankful for the guys that gave me that work. I I went and did gardening for a few months, and then in the end, I worked out that this is ridiculous, and I went back into teaching, and I went back to teaching full time. But I knew there was something missing in me, and when my rock bottom sounds soft and sounds tame to everybody else, but I think it's because I felt like I was so high. I felt like I'd achieved. I kind of felt we're taught, especially, well, less so now, thankfully. I think it's possibly one of those positives from COVID is that and the fact that no one can afford anything anymore, but we're taught that, you've succeeded in the Western world anyway. You've succeeded once you've got the career and the house and the car. Tick, tick, tick. Then if you want family, great, succeeded on that as well. Then you get the dog and the picket fence, and then you're done and you wait until you die. And that's life, and you've nailed it. And I'd nailed that from an early age. I'd done it. And then I lost a lot of it. And then I realized that actually none of that made me happy in the first place. And by hitting there and going, hang on a minute, this doesn't have to be my job. This doesn't have to be my career. This doesn't have to be my path. And it just broke open a whole sort of realm of possibilities. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that wherever I wanted to go and whatever I wanted to do, I could succeed at it. And that's when I started joining the bar tour and started working with that. And we did well. We were making money. It was good. And I was doing that, and I was happy with the friends and the family that I had around me. And it's incredible when when that support system comes out and comes around you at that time, when your friends and your family who go, yeah, it's you. We care about you. We don't care about what you had or what you have now, or what you did have or didn't have or whatever. Like, it's you. We care about you. Let's get you moving forward. And that was huge, because it's amazing how many people dropped off during that time, rightly or wrongly. And everybody can be their own person. But yeah, it genuinely shows you who's actually there and who really is there. And those people I will hold dearly now, and I will cling on with them all the way through until we get to the top. But yeah, they're so important to me. That was something that I don't think I'd have really appreciated unless I'd sort of lost everything else.
It's interesting what you say about, your rock bottom and comparing that to other people's. And it's something I notice people do a lot, is we kind of minimize our own experience because we know somebody else has had it worse. And I always encourage people not to minimize their own experience, because it was important to you and it was significant what you went through. And it kind of doesn't matter or doesn't reduce the impact on you, the fact that someone else had, a different problem, a worse problem, whatever. But it's really common that I hear people doing that. And I'm always saying to people, your experience is valid, regardless of other people's experiences. And what I love hearing is the way that it opened up your thoughts on success. Like you
Yeah.
say, you had those traditional trappings of a success at really quite a young age compared to a lot of people. I think that's much more common when people haven't gone to university. You kind of get that, that at a quicker rate because you haven't had the 3 years holiday.
Yeah.
University. But yeah, I think it's really quite profound to hear how much it influenced you and influenced your kind of worldview, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely. I think, it stems back to the first point of being able to see how the world is in terms of like, if the world listens, you can talk, and if you want to talk, if the world talks, you should listen. And I there was a lot there that I didn't listen to. Hindsight is a beautiful thing, and I look back now and I go, what, Russell, what the hell were you doing? Why didn't you get out there or there or there or there? Like, that whole period of your life, you were sat on a motorway and you were given exit after exit after exit. And you deliberately chose to sit in the fast lane and keep going. And, and inevitably you run out of fuel, mate. You're not going to get there. And that's what happened. And it was a pretty crap push of the vehicle to the next lay-by. But yeah, like I said, people get out there. That's a really metaphoric. You heard that, right? That was good. That was a
I
metaphor.
love that metaphor, and I'm absolutely going to be stealing
that one. I have no idea where
with pride.
I have no idea where that came from at all. But yeah, I mean, thank God people. Yeah, there were friends and family there who pulled over and push me, because I was ignoring everybody who was driving past me with their finger out the window. I was ignoring them.
Where are the people saying to you, get out? Not get out, like leave my house.
Every day of my life, Melanie, every day of my life.
I mean, were people saying to you, you should sell the business?
Yes. Yeah. There were people definitely telling me to cut my losses and go. But I hid a lot of it as well. I look back now, probably not as well as I thought. My fuse was short. My stress levels were high. The bags under my eyes told a story. And probably my aggression on a hockey and a rugby pitch were quite clear to see that there was probably something going on at home. But yeah, I didn't voice it. And that's something that I forgot, and that's something that I neglected to talk about. I don't know whether I felt shame. I don't know whether I wasn't used to losing. Now, I could lose a sport game, no problem. I still can, and none of that was an issue. I've experienced loss, but that was the first time where I just seen it was all on me. It wasn't other people scoring an own goal. It wasn't we lost, but I played well type of scenario in life. That was no, you've lost because you've lost. It wasn't even that somebody else was better. You've lost. And that took a while to work out. And I wasn't working it out. Is the honest answer. For how much sports coaching I was doing at the time, for how I was saying it and saying it and saying it over and over again. I could use all the words, but I wasn't implementing it in my own life, or I wasn't acknowledging that it was there even. I don't know. But yeah, the positives are that it did open up a whole new world, and it showed me that actually success isn't about, money and power and control. It's actually just, are you happy? Can you afford to survive? And are you happy? And do you have the right people around you to make you happy? And yeah, that's something that I was going to say that's something that I've chased ever since, but actually it's not something I've needed to chase. It's just something that I've made sure that is a part of me now, because I didn't need to chase it. It was there. It has been there. And if anything, that's just grown. And that's been massive. It's massive. And it gives me the confidence to go again, because at that time, I didn't think I'd ever want to go again. I thought, well, that's it. I'll just work in a supermarket and I'll be done with that. And that's fine if that's what you want to do. And if I'm never ever going to talk down or look down at anybody who chooses that kind of career or any job at all. But yeah, for me, I knew that I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to run a business again, and I wanted to try again. But at the time, yeah, I wasn't in a position where I thought I could. Yeah.
Tell me about getting stuck in Costa Rica, because that sounds awesome.
Yeah, that was game changing. That was probably the single biggest sort of moment of my life. So whilst all of you guys across pretty much the whole world were in lockdown and stuck in your houses, I was trapped in a Costa Rican rainforest with an indigenous village just across the river. So yeah, it was cool. I was very fortunate when I went back from the gardening job during my sort of rough stage. I went back to teaching, and because I could go back to teaching straight away because I didn't need to give much notice period. Basically, I agreed with the school that I would be able to go and see my brother who was working in Panama at the time, that the February afterwards. So I started work in October, and the February after, February of 2020, that would have been then, I was going to have the half term, and actually I was given another 2 weeks instead of notice. I was given an extra 2 weeks, and that was a lovely agreement that the head teacher sorted out for me, and I was so happy and so thankful. So I went to see my brother in Panama, and there was no such thing as COVID. The word didn't exist. Nobody had a clue what that was, and we had a lovely time out in Panama. He had to do a visa run because he was out there for 6 months, and you're only allowed to be out there for 3 months at a time on his pass. But at the time, I think they've changed it now, but at the time, he was allowed to go out of the country for a week and then come back. So I was going to go with him to Costa Rica, and we were going to go explore. We landed in San Jose, went out, we did everything that you could possibly do in Costa Rica. We climbed the volcanoes, we went rapid riding, we saw the leopards and the sloths and every bird and animal that you could think of, and it was beautiful. And we got back into San Jose at a lodge. We were staying in a hostel, and the hostel owner came to us and probably about 10 other people who were there and said, "We close tomorrow, you all have to go." So that we didn't actually mind. That's fine. We're flying back tomorrow morning. Sorry to the rest of you guys, but we're okay. And we all went out to lunch. Everybody English speaking from all over the world. There was Iranians there, German, a couple of Spanish. It was beautiful. It was really lovely. And we all went out to dinner. And oh my goodness, it was when we first turned up, it was like, hey, you come on in. Hey, you want this, you want that, you want sunglasses, come by. And when that last day, we're walking out and not one restaurant wanted us anywhere. We had to walk miles before we found somewhere that would let us eat. And I turned to my brother, and up on the TV screens, they were covering airplanes. And I said, "Matt, that's our plane." And it was our bloody flight number on the tail of the aeroplane getting wrapped up or live on the news. And he's going, "Oh, it's fine because they're not, there's nothing online. There's nothing online saying that ours is cancelled." And then within 10 minutes, bang, "Your flight is cancelled. Don't know what to do." We were going to get on a bus. They said, "Yeah, you could get on a bus, but you can't cross the border. So you would just be stuck." So the people who did the whitewater rafting, I rang them, an American expat and his beautiful family, and they have a lodge right in the rainforest on the river. And they said, "You know what? Gather the people that need it, and for $10 a night, you guys can stay, and we'll have a guide with you." And we stayed there for just under 3 months. So,
Wow.
just under 3 months in the rainforest, showering under waterfalls, every animal you could possibly think of. We woke up with monkeys coming through the huts. There were jaguar. We were fishing, and jaguar just came like the other side of the river. It was wild. We learned how to forage. We learned how to fish the traditional way. It was wild. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing, and it was life changing. It was absolutely game changing for me because I realized that actually you don't need anything. I lived 3 months in with a tiny rucksack worth of stuff because that's all I flew out with. Most of my stuff was still in Panama. I didn't miss it, didn't need it. I was still teaching from Costa Rica. You had to climb a mountain. So what I would do is I would record videos of me teaching and videos of us in the camp playing all these different sports games and doing these sports exercises. I was like a very suntanned slightly chubbier Joe Wicks.
Costa Rican Joe Wick.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, and then I'd hike up this mountain once a week, and I'd call the embassy, and then I would send everything to the head teacher, and then he would split it through for me. But yeah, it was wild. But I promise you, 3 months, and everybody else is at that point is going, oh, it's gonna be nice to go home. It'll be nice to do this, be nice to that. And I was like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to go. I was so happy. I was so happy there. And you got to come back and you got to work. But I genuinely at that moment thought, what do I want out of life? Like, how do I want to do this? Because it's not that tradition. I think I was still hanging on to I'll get the car back, I'll get the house back, I'll get the stuff back. And I look back, and that the Costa Rican thing went, nah, you don't need those things. Like, you really don't need those things. You need safety and security, and we have that at the lodge. The rest of it, just just enjoy life, just enjoy it. Yeah, and that was massive. That was massive for me. And within, I don't know, less than a month of me returning back, I went straight back and straight into teaching, straight back into schools, because schools had opened up at that point for certain children, and that was mainly my class. So I went straight back into teaching. And although it was nice to be back, it genuinely felt like something had changed. Like, this isn't what I want to do with the rest of my life. And I analyzed, well, what have I actually missed? Like, genuinely, what have I missed in the last 4 weeks? Or last 4 months? And it was live music. It was going to concerts. It was going and hanging out with my mates at festivals. So I decided that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. That's what I want to do. So yeah, within 4 weeks of returning, I'd enrolled into a university course to get to go into the music industry, predominantly to make contacts. I didn't need the degree. I was already teaching because my sports quals got me into most of it. But yeah, I wanted to do it for the connections and the contacts. So I did. And yeah, I haven't really looked back, to be honest.
So before we will come back to that, because obviously that's what you're doing now, but just to kind of finish off the key people and experiences in your life, your brother, who you mentioned there, was he in Costa Rica with you?
He was, yeah. Yeah. So I've put him as my fifth because he lives how initially I always thought, dude, what are you doing with your life? Like, and I'll be honest with you, I always sort of growing up, I sort of thought that, and I'm every now and again I still do when he goes on some kind of wild adventure. But he is so basically he's an adventurer. He is an outdoor instructor, and he was one of the first people to stand up paddleboard a large part of the Amazon rainforest. He is the first person to stand up paddleboard a certain river in Mongolia. I don't know all the ins and the outs. He's just securing funding at the moment, I believe, for doing something amazing in the Antarctica with stand-up paddleboards. So
that sounds
he's
cool.
Yeah, very. He's currently in New Zealand. He takes people out on walks across like the volcano walks, and I actually went out to see him last year, and he took me on the walk, and it's incredible. It's beautiful. He has never gone down that route of I need to have the house and the car. I need to have this. What he's always put forward that next adventure. He's always put forward that next discovery, and I think that's something that I've always been, I guess, a little envious of, because I've always chased having the thing, and now I'm older. In particular, it ties in with the Costa Rica experience. I'd rather have experiences. I'd rather have, I think everybody says, oh, I'd rather have experiences than things and possessions. But actually, most of us still buy the possession rather than going on holiday, or buy something rather than going and traveling, or we'll stick, but I really like going to a certain area of Spain, so I'll go do that again. As opposed to going, well, hang on a minute, Albania is really cheap this time of year. Why not give that a go? And he wouldn't. He would always do the opposite. And I've learned from that. And now I am doing the opposite. I mentioned Albania because I was there last week. Just literally, they're so cheap and it's so beautiful. Go to Albania, people. It's beautiful.
Are you sponsored by the Albanian Tourist Board?
I tell you what, if they wanted to, if they wanted to, I would definitely look into it.
So let's talk about Sonar Presents then. Why Sonar? Because in my mind, Sonar isn't that what they do with submarines? That's
Yeah.
what I think of with Sonar.
Yeah. So Sonar as a name, there's sort of a lot to it and nothing to it all at the same time. The fact is, what we're trying to do is put new musicians, new artists, independent artists on your radar, a little bit like a sonar. So if you are thinking that you are
Ah.
sat there, you're the submarine, and you're out scanning for new music, it's a world of mess out there, in particular with AI now, where you've got no idea whether it's real music or not real music, whether it's a real artist or not, whether it's one of the large corporations force feeding certain music that they get paid to force feed you or not, whether it's a session musician or whether it's the real artist. Even it's sometimes difficult to tell now. So whilst you're scanning and it's going everywhere, the idea is that you can use us and we can be that brighter beep on your radar or on your sonar every time. So there's a little bit of that. I mean, in terms of, without going into too much, but it had to begin with an S. Spotify begins with an S. So Far Sounds starts with an S. People automatically see that and it looks like Spotify. It sounds like some of the others, and you go, "Oh yeah, okay, cool." It's automatically affiliated somewhere deep in your brain that it's there. We can go into so many intricacies about why we've designed the logo, how we've designed it, and what it means and how it can sit. But the fact is, Sonar and Sonar Presents, the concept is that we are trying to bring you in contact with the other artists or with artists. We're the middleman, I guess. We're the platform for you to discover them, because they're there and they're screaming and they're shouting, but you can't hear them. So we're going to try and put them on your radar.
And do you think that's got worse?
Yes.
It's become harder for young, I don't mean as in age, but as in new, let's say,
Yeah.
artists early
Yeah.
in their career to be found.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are lots of pros and cons to all of the technology that we have now and all of the ability that we have and what computers can do. For example, we are sat miles and miles away from each other and we're having this podcast now. The bonus is that now I do not need a recording studio. If I was an artist, I don't need a recording studio now. I just need a laptop and I could plug instruments straight into this, or I can plug the recording software. Is so easy and accessible now that I can do this. And what that does is that gives me an opportunity to put my music out there. The downside is it gives everybody else the opportunity to get it out there, which means it's saturated and it's really difficult to shout through that massive cloud. I don't know, it's difficult to pick out one tadpole when there's an entire pond of tadpoles. So it's really hard to do that. And then you couple it with the fact that the music industry currently is owned by a very small percentage. And actually, if you look at all businesses, they're owned by a very, very small percentage of people who have their fingers in everything. And that's, it's difficult, and that's what we're all fighting through and we're fighting against. But the problem is that then those artists who are picked and are selected, they are given the leg up and they're given the support slots. They're given the platform to grow and be massive. And that's huge for that artist. But for that one artist, there's a million artists that don't have that leg up and don't get that opportunity. And then you combine that with the fact that stages becoming There are fewer stages at some of the bigger festivals now. And the ones that are actually, we've got artists playing 3-4 times a weekend now, as opposed to having slots for up and coming musicians. We've got one of the biggest growing live music things that is going on at the moment is tribute acts, tributes and cover music. And to cut costs, even those are now not having an opening artist. It's cheaper to just play some music beforehand. It's cheaper for one of those bands, even a large band, to play twice than it is to have opening support acts. And that's not everything, and that's not all the way through. But there are less and less and less opportunities for artists to actually connect with an audience. So it's a really tough one because, yes, everything in this world right here, right now, gives an artist, any artist, a real true opportunity to go in as an equal and put their music out there for you to find it. The downside is there are a lot less opportunities. So all of those artists, and there are more, more than ever, arguably, now have less platforms. So they're all fighting for those little platforms and those little opportunities. And it's something that I saw and I noticed when I was working at some festivals. That was when I came out of university. I started working for festivals and I started programming their second stages and their smaller stages and their opening artists. And oh my God, some of the caliber of artists that were reaching out to me, I was offering them, I could only offer £50, which was insane because the festival was making hundreds of thousands, but that's neither here nor there. But I was allowed to offer 50 quid to these artists. And there were bands, like full bands, going, oh, please, we'll do it. We'll take it. And I'm like, you're going to lose like £1,000. You're going to lose £1,000 to play in a gazebo, the wrong side of the festival. But they would need it, but to them, they needed it because they had to be on that poster because that was their next opportunity. It was wild.
So how does Sonar Presents work? What is your, what's your kind of core offer, I suppose?
Yeah. So for the layperson, for say you or me who just wants to go listen to music, you can go onto the website. An app is in development, but they take time and a lot of money. But so currently we're on a website. It's www.sonarpresents.com. And there is an embedded player on this. What you're able to do is just put in, using the drop-down menu, you can choose a genre of music that you like. You can even put in what you're doing. So if you are working in the office, you can put in office or easy listening or something like that. And it will put together a playlist that have been selected by humans, by us and our team. And it will put together a playlist of independent artists, of emerging artists, of up and coming musicians. And it will give you a playlist and it will just play and it'll play in the background. And realistically, you'll probably zone in and out a little bit. And when you zone back in, you'll go, oh my God, I love this. Who is it? And when you open up the website again, you can look down and it will tell you who they are. It gives a bit of a bio about them. It gives all their links. And from next year onwards, it's going to give them all of their live dates as well. So you'll be able to immediately connect with that musician, with that artist. From an artist side of things, we offer now, we're going to be offering consultations and help. We are looking at putting on some writers' retreats and some collaborations, both online and offline. And we've just started Sonar Presents Live. So we are now doing tours, which is very exciting. So our first one is actually at the end of October and into the early November. So I'm not quite sure when this is going out.
Soon, so it'll be perfect timing. Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Cool. So there'll still be tickets available.
I know those.
Yeah.
So where will they go again? Sonar Presents, the information's on that website?
It is, yeah. So we've got a live tab and we're doing that. And we're doing an EP launch in London as well for a band. And there's some really exciting things moving forward. So yeah, there's some really exciting things moving forward as well.
I'm very excited by that. I think because I was looking on your website as you do, and I was like, "Ooh, they're coming to London. I think I need to go watch some live music." I haven't watched any live music in ages. So, other than being at Ideas Fest and watching whatever her name was from Atomic Kitten.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I can't remember her
Yeah.
name. Not quite my taste in music, but brilliant. I'm just going to ask you quickly then a few of my sort of quick fire questions that I always ask my guests. So in terms of books, any books that you would recommend?
Well, apart from yours,
Obviously.
Obviously. Okay. Look, honestly, I would genuinely just say, go and read. That's the teacher in me saying, just go read, just read anything and everything. But in terms of anything that actually helps, I genuinely think reading about the people who are in whatever industry that you aspire to be in or want to be in or anything that's adjacent. And if you're at the top of the food chain, read something from somebody below you, in a position below you, even if it's in another company or another direction. Yeah, there are some fascinating people out there that we need to learn about and you need to read about. And you'll agree with some of the things and you'll disagree with some of those points. But it gives you a more rounded feel of your genre. I was never big into biographies. Even as a sports coach, I read a few that I liked, but I was never that bothered. I like fiction. I like reading books, but I like reading fiction. And now I've started reading biographies of artists and autobiographies of artists and musicians that I wouldn't even listen to, but I just love reading them. And I think they're just really interesting to see how quickly the industry has developed, and how different it is and how different it was back then and how things have changed now, but also how many similarities there still are. And I think that's really interesting. And then you watch how they navigate it.
Mm. What about advice to your younger self?
Dude, you don't know it all. uh, shut up and listen. I think is probably the best. The best. It's not, you haven't got it figured out, mate. But also, that's okay. It's all right to not have to be dad of the group all the time. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to be that guy. Chill out. It's okay. It will come. You're still young, mate. You've got this. And I think that would be the biggest one is, just stop trying to know everything. Stop trying to do everything. Stop trying to be everything. Chill out. You got this. It's all right.
It's interesting, isn't it? I work with a lot of people who are in their 40s and 50s. And, one consistent theme I see is that how much of a rush people are in when they're younger. And then you get to a point and you think there's no need actually. People talk about this phrase, life's too short to whatever it is they're talking about. I think the opposite, that life's too long to, not that it's too long, but it's too long to stay in a bad marriage. It's too long to be in a job that you don't enjoy, actually, because we have, if we're lucky, we spend a lot of time doing work, doing whatever, and we have plenty of time to do all the different things that we might want to do.
Exactly. And people say, do what you love in terms of work. But what we all forget is actually there's a lot of things that you will love outside of work as well. Mm-hmm. So it's almost, ideally you love your work and ideally you enjoy your work, but that's not how we should be defining ourselves. And in this country and a lot of the Western world, we do, don't we? We go, oh, hi, my name's Russell. And the first thing I'm going to tell you about is my job.
Yeah.
You go to other countries and other cultures and they say, hi, I'm Russell and my favorite thing is hockey and I am, I have a dog and I go surfing and I love this. Oh, and by the way, I make money by. Yeah, it's a different way of living. And if we can even just sometimes think about that, it's a bit of a game changer.
Definitely. So my last question is, what would be one key takeaway that you would have for the listeners?
Yeah, I mean, you said this series is about kind of like leadership and consultations and stuff like that. And it's the fact I think we're all leaders, and I think we're all leaders, but we're also followers. I've said so many times that we're all on the same team, and we've all got to band together. And it doesn't matter whether you are the very, very top or whether you're lower down. It doesn't matter whether you've been at a company or a job or a position for 60 plus years or whether it's your first hour. None of that matters, and none of that should sort of determine or define you. I think it's just important to listen and understand where everybody's coming from on your team, then actually think about it and digest it and use the strengths of the people around you. And then also just be know your strengths, understand your strengths and share them where it's needed, as well. So we're all on the same team, guys.
I love that. I think it's fabulous. Russell, thank you so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed it. You've had a really interesting life so far, and I think what you're doing now is really interesting, and very much needed. I'm a huge music listener myself, so I think it's really important what you're doing. So thank you for speaking to me.
Thank you so much for having me. I love your podcast, so thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by Liberare Consulting. If you enjoyed today's episode, hit subscribe so you're the first to hear new conversations. And if you found it valuable, do a friend a favour and share it with them too.